So hey there, I'm Michelle Andrews. I'm your host for the Pep Talk Podcast. This episode is about the Entrepreneur SLP's Guide to Building Brand Trust on Social Media. My guest speaker today is Talisa Piña. Hi there, Talisa. Hi. Let me tell you a little bit about Talisa. She is a social media strategist and consultant specializing in businesses that serve children and their families. She loves to make clients feel empowered as a true authority in their field on social media. She is amazing at what she does, and she's going to teach us so much. Before we start the official course, let me walk you through the virtual Pep Talk Podcast exhibit hall. And I have a special message from this episode's sponsor, which I am so proud to announce is Marsha Church from Speech Stars Branding, and she is offering 25% off her single stock photos and her private practice starter kit, which is amazing. I have it, you guys. You will feel set. You will feel prepared to use the code PEPTALK25. Thank you so much, Marsha, for sponsoring this podcast. First, we need to go over some formalities for the course by going over our financial disclosures. My financial disclosures include I have a Teachers Pay Teachers store, Boom Learning store, Medley store, and I'm the founder and manager of the Pep Talk Podcast. My non-financial disclosures include Speech Arcade is an in-kind sponsor for this podcast. Talisa's financial disclosures include she is the owner of Socially Easy, and she has no non-financial disclosures. All right, so here are the learner objectives for this course. Number 1, describe 3 ways to optimize your Instagram bio for your brand. Number 2, define how to narrow your target audience. Number 3, list 3 things you should be posting about for your specific audience. These are key things, you guys. I'm so excited. All right, let's get started. I'm so excited to hear from you, Talisa. How about you take it away? You have this beautiful presentation. I am so excited to learn.
All right, I'm super excited to get started. So that was a beautiful introduction. Like you said, my name is Talisa Piña. I am a social media strategist and consultant. And I love working, especially with pediatric therapists. So I have 2 kids that both need speech, both are in speech. So while I may not be a speech pathologist, I am in your target audience. So I know what we want to see, right? So that's my little thing. And I am super excited. And I love helping SLPs. I actually wanted to be an SLP in college. I ended up doing special ed, left teaching after 12 years to do this. So, that's a little bit of background. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to be talking about building brand interest, which is basically brand trust. So you're going to learn the secrets to optimizing your profile and building your brand interest to ensure that the people who see your content and visit your profile, like if we're on the Reels tab or in the Explore page, they actually stick around and follow you, because ultimately that's the conversion that we want when we are posting on social media, right? So let's go ahead and get started. I love GIFs and I love Schitt's Creek, so gotta add that in. All right, so let's talk about the breakdown of an ideal follower. So this is just like who an ideal follower is. It's a person who is not only aware of you and your brand, but is also a person that is interested in your brand. So the question is not how do I get more followers, but rather how do I build awareness and how do I build brand interest, right? Because it's easy. It's not easy to get. Actually, it could be, because you could buy followers, but we want people that really are interested in us, right? So this is how we kind of categorize an ideal follower, and then we have to kind of ask ourselves these 2 questions. So let's go ahead and get into it. So these are going to be the 5 ways to build brand interest. So we're going to be going over how to create interest. So it's going to be optimizing your profile and building brand interest. And you don't want to get through all the hard work of creating content for people then they're not gonna follow you, right? That's the purpose that's the main reason we build certain types of content, is for people to then follow us. So we don't want to go through the whole hassle of creating that kind of content for people not to follow us. So we want your ideal follower to see themselves in your profile and actually be interested in what you have to say, right? So we're gonna get into it. So it's all about that first impression. Okay, so we all know that first impressions are really like vital in real life, right? So that's how, when you meet I was gonna say a patient, but pretty much the client, which is the parents, right? We want to make a solid first impression, and that is exactly who we're targeting on social media. So once you start working on growing your account and building your brand interest, it all comes down to optimizing your page and to make sure that the content makes an unforgettable first impression, and one that really hooks them in and keeps them coming back for more. We really want people to see themselves in it. So our goal today is to work our way down from your profile, starting at the very, very top, in hopes of creating an unforgettable first impression. And that ensures that people actually follow you instead of clicking in and be like, no, I don't understand. So what do you think would be the first impression? It's the bio, right? That's the
I was like, do I answer the bio?
So it is all about creating the perfect bio, okay? And so we're gonna be going ahead and getting into this, and I'm going to be looking at yours, Michelle, in a little bit. So let's go ahead and get into it. So your bio is the very first thing that people read, okay? And if it's not clear, they're gonna go away. Right? So it's very important that you get this right to ensure that your visitors really know without a shadow of a doubt that your page is for them, because your page is not going to be for everybody, right? We want to make sure that we are good, that we focus in and create content and create this bio for our target audience. So your bio should really be broken into 5, maybe 6 parts. Okay. 1 is your picture, right? This one is something that I feel a lot of new entrepreneurs, new private practice owners actually miss, because if they are a solopreneur, they go and they put their logo. And I have done so many audits that it's just a solopreneur, maybe like a traveling SLP, that it's just them and they just have their logo. The problem is that although here I do have a clear picture of your face or logo, we cannot connect with a logo unless it's something that's already very much known, right? So unless you have a very large practice, I want to see your beautiful face and it zoomed in, right? We experience Instagram on our phones, which is very small. So when you are thinking about your profile picture, zoom it in. And don't put any writing. Don't put your logo at the bottom. That's actually a mistake that I made when I first started off. I put a logo, but then I'm like, wait, that doesn't make any sense because nobody can really see it. So zoom it in. Make sure that it is of you being approachable. Again, we're talking about first impressions. Okay. Then the second part is your name and the title. That's this part. That's the bolded section right here. So the goal of this is to introduce yourself and to use words that your ideal audience is actively searching for, and it'll include your first name. Again, if you're a solopreneur, if you have like a massive practice, then this changes a little bit, right? But we want to look for words that people are searching for. And this is actually my old bio. I forgot to update this, but now I also have AI marketing because I have gotten into AI, and I know that is something that people are actively searching for. So if you're an SLP, you are, usually to a specific area, right? So I want you to put whatever area, speech therapist, because also after a lot of research and working with speech pathologists, therapist is more of a term that is searched for versus pathologist. So that's something that, again, you can research, or maybe think about your target audience. Maybe your target audience uses the word pathologist versus therapist. So this is something that you actually have to search up a little bit. And you can look it up on Google Trends. That's another way that you can look up what words people are actively searching for. So when it comes to the title that you're going to put, I want you to put exactly what you do, and what you do what you do. I was gonna say what you sell, but I mean, unless you're selling some sort of digital product, which you absolutely can. I want this to really tell your target audience what you do, right? So, maybe pediatrics, for adolescents, for adults, for whatever the case is. And don't make it complicated. I know a lot of SLPs, they like to put all the C's behind their name, right?
Mhm.
As parents, we don't know what that means. That doesn't mean much to us. Okay. So, this bold section here is valuable real estate. Don't take it up with all the C's. I know it hurts. I get it. Okay. But it doesn't mean anything to the user, right? To your audience, unless you are targeting other SLPs. So that is for the bold section. I don't know if you have any questions, or do you think that like the audience would have any questions?
I think you explained that really well. I know I know when you said to not put your C's, it's like, I don't know, but it totally makes sense because it's like, you're gonna have on there that you're a speech therapist or something, and that's what parents are gonna call
Right.
you as.
Right.
So that really makes sense. To utilize that valuable real estate there.
Yeah.
Maybe you could have that somewhere else, even to like a pinned post where that has like a bio about you or something.
100%.
Where people can easily see it right there. It's just
Right.
not in that searchable, because that's probably not what a parent is going to search. They're probably not going to search CCC-SLP. They're going to say speech therapist near me.
Well, actually,
So
I recently learned what those C's were from from my neighbor that's an SLP, that she asked me who gave one of my kids the evaluation, if it was a something or something. I don't know. and I work with them, right? So I have seen so
Yeah.
many, I've done so many audits. I'm like, I mean, I don't, take out these CCCs because they don't need anything. And then I never actually tried to find out what they meant, and it just by coincidence, I'm like, okay, yeah, we definitely can take those out. And I'm so sorry. I know, like it's like taking out doctor, right? But it takes up a lot of space,
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna go on to number 3 and on, which are part of the 150 character bio. Okay, and let me preface this by saying, even though you have 150 characters, you may not want to use all of them. So the number 3 is your ideal audience. So this line is about communicating who your page is for and what they want to achieve. So here I help I wish I could read. I help child and parent-centered businesses feel confident and have fun on social media. So now if you are a child or parent-centered business, you know that my profile is for you. And what do I help you do? I help you have fun on social media. Okay, that's one way. My updated bio is a little bit different. Let me actually get into it okay, so now I have cut through the noise with authentic impressions. Why? Because even though I'm not saying like, okay, this is for you, like for a very specific audience, now it's more of like, okay, if this is what you want to achieve, I am for you, right? And then so that you don't necessarily need to have an I help statement anymore. That's something that was used. But we're moving on from that. We want to have our bios have a lot more personality. And a lot of times it's hard to get an I help statement with personality. So then number 4 is your brand pillars or personal little tidbits. So here I had that I'm specializing in pediatric private practices. I wanted, again, to really hone in on the fact that I specialize in pediatric private practices. So that is a little personal tidbit. I'm not saying put like dog mom. That's not what I'm saying. I want to make sure that it is relevant. Okay, so maybe so for my updated bio, I have shine, strategize, and have fun on socials. That is part of my content pillar, right? That's what I help people do. That's what I create my content to help you do, is to shine on social media, so feel empowered, strategize, so everything is back to a strategy, and just have fun on social media. That's just, those are basically my brand pillars, and that's what I put on my profile so that you know that that's what you can expect. And then number 5 is your call to action. So it's not just like book a call with me, right? That's not going to entice anybody. So your call to action should really usually lead to your link. But we want to make it super enticing. And this is the part of your bio that should be changing constantly. So what are you doing? A lead magnet to build your email list? Are you trying to book for a special event? Are you trying to bring them in for XYZ? Change your call to action and change this link. And I know that's hard, but it just takes a little bit of creativity. And I'm like really for building an email list. And then if applicable, which I feel would be applicable for most SLPs, unless you are primarily virtual, put where you're from, put where you are, which is huge because I do a lot of audits of SLPs. I'm like, hey, but where are you? Right? I could go ahead and find an SLP that I'm like, oh my God, this person's amazing. But if they are in Idaho, I don't know why that's what I came up with. It doesn't help me. So I want you to put where you are. I have Miami, Florida, because I do like to work with local people. And those are the 5 parts of an optimized bio. So
that's so helpful. I love it.
I know it was a lot, and I apologize.
Yes.
But
That's great.
Yeah. Okay, so this is another tip that I like to add in. Keep your bio short, no more than 4 lines, and use line breaks and emojis to showcase your personality. So we don't want your bio for it to say that you have to click more. So we want to keep it 4 lines and use the emojis. We're not looking for a whole like dissertation of like what you do. Make it easy for people to read. And that goes for captions too, which we will get into later on. Okay.
I do have a question real quick.
Yes.
So I understand we want to stay away from like having people, okay, there, I had my volume down. Having people to click more. But what I have trouble with, and maybe you have a quick fix for this, is if I'm trying to type it on the Instagram app, it won't let me do a space or enter, to go to the next line.
It does now. Have you tried
it does now.
Recently?
Oh,
yeah.
Maybe I haven't. Well, I tried within the last few months. Okay, well, everyone, it works now. A workaround that I did is I would type it in my notes and then copy and paste it.
Yep, that's what I was going to say. If for whatever reason it doesn't work because Instagram is going to Instagram, whatever, I do it in my notes. Right?
Okay. But that's awesome that they made that change then.
Yeah.
Way to go, Instagram.
I mean, I've done a few bio updates and it has let me. But now I'm like second guessing myself. Maybe I've like copy pasted it from somewhere else because I work on it in, I don't know. But last I checked, yes, I think it does let you.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. Last I checked it did not. So, but it's definitely been a few months and you can even, we're going to eventually show you guys my my private practice Instagram, which is not the example yet, but I'm going to make changes to it.
This is so I was like, oh no, I put the wrong one. So let me actually, I'm going to talk about what I like about this and then we'll look at your private practice one.
Okay. So yeah, so this is my podcast and stores, like this is for SLPs. Hence,
correct.
Pep Talk for SLPs. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's first of all, let's talk about, I'm going to give you like a super quick audit, right? Let's talk about your handle, Pep Talk for SLPs. That's so straightforward. We know who it's going to be for, right? Okay. Your picture is very recognizable. And we're going to kind of go back. This is like kind of the only thing that I really have for you is don't hate me, I would take this whole part out.
It's so small.
Yeah, it's too small. Nobody's going to be able to see that.
So you want me to, so those of you just listening, I have, first of all, go to my Instagram, but also, well, maybe I'll change it by then. But, so I have kind of a small picture of me to also have room for my logo that says Pep Talk Podcast and resources for SLPs. You absolutely cannot read it. It's so tiny. I don't know. Okay. So I should just have the picture of me or the logo?
No, I would put a picture of you because you are
just me.
Okay. It's just you, right? So I
Right.
just want a picture of you. So zoom this beautiful picture in because it's very clear that it is a podcast because you are with your, your headphones, your, excuse me, your mic. That's all you need. So we don't need to like really go in with your logo and everything. And your handle's doing it and your name section is doing it for you. So let's just make sure that people connect with you first. We connect with people. People connect with people, and that is going to be the first impression. So we want to see your beautiful smile first thing. And I do
Okay.
really like that the background is a plain, simple color. So there isn't like a lot going on. So I would leave it just like that. That's also very like modern, and that's in style. That's not what I wanted to say, but it is
Yeah.
what we're doing. Like, I mean, you could even see, look, we have Marsha down here as the people
Oh,
that
yeah.
follow you, like covering her. But we have Marsha down here as the people that are following you, and you see her background is clear. Then we have I think it's like Miami. I forgot her handle, but also her background
Mhm.
is she's doing awesome. Her background is also a plain background, so we don't want my background, what I currently have on the video, right? We wanted to keep it very clean because we want the focus to be on you.
Okay.
So,
I do
okay,
have a question then.
yeah.
So, since this profile is for my podcast and my like TPT and Boom store, it's all for SLPs. You know, SLPs want resources. They need continuing education. You know, if my logo is just like me and my microphone, does that also like should I just have a different photo, or should there is there any do you have any ideas on what I could do to kind of showcase all the things that I provide? Like if you have more than one thing
That's
that
what your
you
bio is
offer.
for. We don't
Okay.
need like a whole circus of a picture. Like it's
All the
not that
things.
deep. But
Okay.
yeah, like if you're gonna take anything away from anything that you ever do, social media is not that deep. So don't overthink it. And like something done is better than something perfect, right? So we just want to just always be learning. And honestly, like I said, I really like the picture of you with the headphones and the mic because you already have that. And I can promise you, there is not a single person that is reading and resources for SLPs. Nobody's saying
No.
that.
It's so small. I know.
It's teeny tiny. Like, yeah, they'll see podcast, but so don't overthink it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you're also like telling me what you do in the bio. Like this is also something major. Like we're not going to focus so much in on your picture. We're going to focus in here in your bio. So you have your name, which is exactly what I said to do, right? Speech therapy and podcast CEUs. I can't think of anything to change there. I really can't. When you first told me like, oh look through my profile and give me feedback, I'm like, there isn't much feedback because this is really good.
Yay.
Yeah. So no prep speech materials. Look, you're telling me who this is for. Boom. Perfect. Okay. Pep Talk podcast. Okay. It's just that this is amazing. This is perfect. And I love your call to action, free digital Arctic cards bundle. Okay, perfect. I don't know how often you change this, but I know exactly what I'm going to get when I click this. Oh, then I do have feedback because this is a link tree. Okay.
Oh
So
yeah.
I have feelings about a link tree. If
Okay.
you are going to be sending me for a specific free digital Arctic cards bundle, either have the link be to that directly or make sure that that is the very first link at the top. Don't have me searching
Okay.
because then the conversion is not going to be there because people are lazy, right?
Hmm.
So we want to make sure that that is if this is your call to action, again, it's either the link directly, so you're gonna lose out on the link tree, or the very, very first link.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have to keep the link tree updated.
Okay. I don't think it's the first one. Actually, I think the first one is to sign up for this. So
Oh,
yeah, that
well
should be
then
very first.
yes. So
Yeah.
then I would have changed my call to action. I mean, like sign up for our next podcast, live podcast, whatever the case is.
Mm.
That so You can
That's
change
true.
either
And
one.
then it should just be a link to that. Yeah. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's very helpful. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So then
Thank you.
that's the feedback on that. And if we have time at the end, I'll go into your private practice one.
Okay. That one definitely needs some changes. I don't really get on it very much. I will be pursuing that a little bit more this summer, but
Okay.
to be
Well,
determined.
we can talk about it, and then just kind of like if anybody ever needs any feedback, like basically what I just did for you, I do not every Monday, but I do mini audit Mondays. So any viewer can go ahead and submit their profile, and I basically do that for free. Like I do like 2 or 3 on Mondays. I've been lazy about it, but if more people start asking about it, maybe I'll get it together and actually do it. All right. So the next part
Awesome.
of
Okay.
building brand interest back at it is optimizing your highlights, which you kind of like talked about it before. So I do have 2 bad highlights here, and that is on purpose. This is how my old highlights used to be, but I wanted to make sure to show the difference. So with story highlights, this is going to be the very next thing that people see. Okay, we're still talking about first impressions. So we want to make sure that your highlights are purposeful and strategic. So your story highlights serve as resources that your visitors can quickly consume to understand more about you and the value that you have to offer. This would be a perfect time to do an about me and talk about your C's if you want to, right? So new visitors come to your page and they're going to consume more of your content than like the very first time they visit you than at any other point. Chances are, right? There are times that somebody posts something good and then I start like binging their stuff later on. But more often than not, the very first time they visit your profile, they're going to binge a lot of your content to decide if it's worth a follow. Because Instagram is not TikTok. We are very stingy with our follows. Over on TikTok, you can grow pretty easily. But it's not for everybody, and not everybody's target audience is over there. So because of that, you want to make sure that you have your best resources there front and center, easy to find. So I actually recommend having 5 to 8 strategic story highlights in 4 different categories. So, but we want to make sure that our highlight covers are consistent with our brand and our colors. So as you can see here, I got lazy, and look how nasty that looks. Like that's not cute, right? Again, first impression, we want to make sure that we are professional, that we are creating this proper first impression and not get lazy with at least with our story highlights. Okay, so we want to cover your services, your offers, and more information about you and your brand. So your highlights, like it says it there, are still relevant to your brand. So we want to make sure that everything is up to date. Excuse me. Delete anything more than a year and a half old unless it's super relevant, right? But if you have things from like 2020 and you're wearing a mask that you no longer wear, delete it. That's it. We are all in a new phase of life. So we want to make sure that our highlights are actually that we keep up with our highlights. And then we want to keep the most relevant highlights towards the front. Let me see what else. Okay, so these are our story highlights must-haves. We want to have a welcome. Notice I don't have a welcome. So like I said, I wanted to make sure that this was like the non-example, right? I didn't want to call anybody else out on non-examples. So the welcome highlight, again, this is where you can talk about your C's. This is an introduction to you and your page. You're going to be like, hi, thank you so much for coming to my page. Here you can expect this. And kind of get into what you already did in your bio, but a little bit more in depth. And then here we can really show our personality. We can talk about our pillars, and we want to show more personality because there's only so much personality that we can show in about 150 characters. Now this is your time to shine, and I don't want anybody to get nervous like, oh my god, I have to talk on camera. Yeah, you kind of do, but don't freak out. You'll get used to it. I promise. I used to, like, a little sidebar. I had a friend of mine that she became a mommy influencer several years ago, and she was just I would see her talking to the camera, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I could never. Now I do. Why? Because there's a necessity for it. And I practiced, just like with anything else. So I just kind of pretend that I'm FaceTiming with my mom. And it really like kind of takes away the jitters.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
That's a good tip. I know I always feel so awkward trying to do that, which I know I need to do it more. Because I think about the people who I like to watch their stories, and it's because I like to listen to them talk. I like to kind of get an insight on their day, and you know, instead of just like a picture of something you're doing. You know, I really like to hear people talk, even if I realize like, oh wait, this doesn't really relate to me, but I just realize I'm just like listening to them because it's fun. People love to watch your face and for you to talk, and
People
sometimes
connect
it doesn't
with
even
people.
matter. Yeah,
Yeah.
tell whatever you're doing, or just something interesting that you did that day, or something that's useful.
And it humanizes your brand. That's what we want, right? I mean, in an age that we are all so connected through our phones, we are so disconnected. So we still crave that connection. Even if I'm watching a story, I want to feel like they're talking to me. And that's part of it, right? So it's just such a powerful way to really make sure that any leads that come to your page end up following you, because they feel that connection. They feel that it's, that you're human, right? So the next highlight should be to showcase. You would think I don't, I speak all day. Excuse me. So the next highlight is to showcase. So this is, really to kind of show off what you do, right? So what's a good case study that you just, that you just had? Show kind of before and afters of some sort of, maybe like an Arctic kid, right? Show if you're play-based, how do you use play? If you are whatever, we're gonna start showing off what you do. So you're not gonna be shy, right? We want you have this unique opportunity to show off what you do for free to an audience. So start showing off, right? Okay. Then the next 2 to 3 highlights are going to be the roundup of your most valuable content. So this is kind of, think of it as a way to organize your content. Instead of having people scroll and scroll and scroll, okay, so this is something very important that I want people to easily access. Save it as a highlight. And then the last bit should be a little bit of behind the scenes. You can get a little bit personal, but always make sure that it relates back to your business. Any questions?
What about the pinned? Sorry, I keep turning my
We
mind.
have it.
What about, okay, we haven't talked about the pinned.
Okay.
Because I guess that's a different conversation. Okay, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
For the story, for the highlights, this is how it used to be, and maybe I just haven't updated mine in so long, but it's like it had to be a story first and then it could be a highlight. Is that still how it is, or can you make just anything? Okay, so you have to have had it as a story.
What you don't have to do is, remember when people used to have to post the cover in order to make it a cover? You don't have to do that anymore.
Okay. I remember seeing people do that. Oh, they're updating their highlight covers.
Yeah. People would be like, I apologize in advance. I have to post a cover. We don't have to do that anymore. Okay, we don't need to let the world know and lose engagement that we're doing that. You can just update the cover. And then also, like I said, make sure that the most relevant highlights are in the front. And the way to do that is to add something to that highlight. It literally doesn't matter. It could be the most random thing and then delete it. But the moment you add something to it, it goes to the front and it'll stay there even if you delete it. Yeah. So little pro tip, right?
Yeah, that really is. Because I know when you were talking about having the most recent ones being in the front, it's like, well, how do you do that if you don't have something to upload to it?
Yeah.
But, you just upload anything and then delete it.
anything. So it could just be like, oh, you posted your to-do list today. Just add it to that highlight and then delete it, and it'll stay at the front. So to make sure your welcome stays at the front, right? We want to make sure that stays at the front, that your services stay at the front. So let's say you add, I don't know, something else that you don't necessarily need all the way at the front, or you keep adding and then like the welcome kind of gets scooched back, you just add something to it so it goes to the front. And we don't want more than 5 to 7 highlights because people are not going to go through it. The only time I would say you can have more highlights is if you want a highlight per service. So like, let's say you work with like you're focusing with gestalt, right? That's GLPs. Then you also focus on something else, and you focus on something else, and you focus on different things that these are different services that you offer. Then you can have a highlight per each one so that you can refer leads to those highlights, right? So if you have tips specific for each type of diagnosis, I'm not sure what that
yeah, like, or like a different area of treatment, or a specialty,
exactly,
different goals that you would be working on. Exactly. Okay, that makes sense.
But those can stay at the back, like they don't have to be, whatever. So that's the only time that I would say that it's okay to have more highlights, but you really want to make sure that at the end are the ones that you don't want people to look at immediately.
Okay.
All right.
That makes sense.
So I am going to show you a bio, or no, I'm sorry, not a bio, a highlight of somebody that had a that I did an audit for, and then the after. So this is the before. You see, not professional. It's not like, not enticing. Remember, you are a professional. You went to college. You got your master's, maybe even your doctorate. We want to make sure you look professional. And here's the after, right? Way more cohesive. We want to keep it like that. And then here, I'm just putting the arrow because her about me needs to be over here, right? Which is what we just talked about. And that's on highlights. So now we're going to talk about aesthetics, because yes, aesthetics still matter. There are people saying that aesthetics don't matter. We don't need a grid, like a pattern. Nobody has time for that. Nobody cares. But the truth is that this is visual, like a visual brand storytelling, okay? And this is what's important, and it's going to get you, it's going to make you come off, again, professional, right? Who would you prefer to buy from? Somebody that looks messy, it's all over the place, or somebody that looks like they have it together, right? So really just having a cohesive Instagram aesthetic is just one of the best ways to convert visitors to followers by showing off your unique brand personality. Okay. And then there are 3 feed aesthetics that you can have. Okay. So these are your 3 feed must-haves. You're going to have a brand vibe, a brand look, and a brand style. I think the air conditioning is good today. Okay. So first one is your brand vibe, as the kids say. Okay. Every time I say it, I go, "What's the vibe?" I always think of of like the children, the youth saying that, but the youths. But essentially, this is the mood. This is the vibe, right? This is the mood and the personality of your brand. Okay, so what do we see? How do we feel when we first see the profile? We want to be able to pick up on that vibe just by quickly glancing it. We are judging a book by its cover. It is what it is, right? Okay. So think about your brand vibe. Is your brand bright and airy like mine, right? Or is it a little bit dark and moody? It can be. I mean, if you're working with kids, it can be. Or if you're working with adolescents, that would probably be a little bit more appropriate. But it depends how it works, okay? So they say that your vibe attracts your tribe. So we want to make sure that you ask yourself, what types of personalities are you actually looking to attract? And does your page design actually communicate that? Right? Is that, are you going to attract the type of people that you want? Okay. So the next one is your brand look. So this is your brand's visual identity. Okay. So what are your brand colors, fonts, images, and photos? So I am huge on branding. Okay. We want to keep it cohesive. This is the best way to keep a cohesive aesthetic. So we want to pick 2 to 4 colors that are going to be consistent. Obviously mine, pink, that like this like teal color, and then kind of like a goldish brown. Those are my main colors, okay? And then I have my very specific brand fonts. And you want to only stick to 1 or 2 fonts. You can have a main font and then like a little like extra font. And the reason we want this is because when you post something, especially a carousel, you want people to recognize it immediately right off the bat. Think about when you see an Apple commercial. You know it's Apple before it even shows the logo. A Target commercial. You know it's Target before it even shows the commercial. That is a strong brand look. And then number 3 is your brand style. So this is really your overall brand experience. So how will your posts look next to each other? So a lot of times when I'm making real covers, I go and I see, is the last background blue, that goldish color, or pink? Okay. And you can do patterns. You don't need to do patterns, but think about how they look next to each other. So if it's just like all pink, it might be a little overwhelming, and they might just like all look the same, and we don't want it to all look the same. And honestly, if you do not want to design anything, you can use the Canva templates if you have Canva Pro that you're already paying for, or go on Etsy. You can go on Etsy and buy templates. Or you become a one-on-one client and I give you templates. Okay, so that's another thing. I did my one-on-one clients templates.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So any questions on the feed aesthetics?
Let's see. So one thing that I have not really done, well, maybe like a couple times for the aesthetic, or maybe it goes into brand look, I'm not sure. But so when you make a reel, you can do a reel cover, or you can just like choose like a screenshot of it to be your cover.
Which
I would imagine making your own cover is probably better, because then it can look.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It takes a little bit more effort, and if you like kind of forgot to do it, you can add it later on. That's something else.
Okay.
You know, the only problem is that if you add it later on, you can't pick where in the picture it's going to be. So you have to make sure that when you create that cover, like it's perfectly aligned. But you can definitely add it later on. But you can see the difference between like, you know, this is a real cover. This is a real cover. This is a real cover. Mm-hmm. This is just straight from the reel. You know, this is a carousel, so that doesn't matter. And this is a real cover. So it makes it look more professional if you have your covers. Honestly, with a template, you should be good. It's easy. Okay. You just replace the title with some sort of hook, and that's it. And we're going to be talking about hooks in a minute.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So the next one is content, right? We have to talk about content because that is how we are going to really build that brand trust. Okay, so this is, like I said, this is arguably the most important but also the most difficult part of everything, okay? So your primary goal is to keep visitors on your page as long as humanly possible so that they don't leave without following you, okay? So we are going to be creating purposeful and bingeable content. And this is the content that tells a story that really keeps your visitors from clicking from one piece of content to the next, and to the next, and to the next, and the next. Okay, so when I have like somebody new, they're like, oh my gosh, I just watched all your content. I love your content. I'm like, yes, bless, because that is the purpose. That's what I want. I want to create bingeable content. So this is really accomplished by the 3 areas of content. One is your content pillars, and that is these are 3 to 5 topics that your page primarily talks about. So like kind of what I spoke about in the bio, right? Okay, so these are the things that your brand stands for the values. You have the for your offers, and basically just the unique way that you're going to be helping your audience. So you want to make sure that each piece of content will fit kind of within the pillar. And that also helps you create content, right? So it's not so much about being boxed in. It's more about making sure that you have a goal behind each piece of content. Okay. And you should definitely have a niche. So, and this is just going to really make sure that you stand out and that your ideal audience knows that you are for them. And that's the purpose of content pillars. It's not about boxing you in, but just making sure that you have a goal. Then number 2 is the content value. So this is important for you. It's important that you focus on providing edutainment, which is actually a conversation that I had today with another client, that is both educational and entertaining, right? All of you went to school. If you are just getting lectured at and lectured at and lectured at, it's not entertaining. You don't go on social media to get lectured at. You go on for entertainment. So, this is something that I can actually offer as a freebie, which is my content quad, and it kind of helps with that as well. And I'll send that to you later on.
Okay.
And my acronym is DEEP, which is we can get into that later on.
Okay, we can put a link to that in the show notes, everyone, so you can.
Yeah, it'll help
check that
with
out.
a brain dump, basically, to help come up with content ideas.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then the last one is content types. So this is, you want to use different content types such as photos, carousels, reels, and lives. Don't hate me. Yes, lives. Okay. So this is when I do an audit, I check to see if they're using all these different content types, because some people may really like carousels and then other people will really just like reels. And guess what? You don't have to come up with different ideas. You can make the same idea a carousel and then turn that idea into a reel. We don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. Reel, wheel, different. So this will just really help with the experience of that you're offering people that are coming to your profile, and as well as followers. So when you strategically focus on these 3 content areas, then you begin to create a feed that is both binge worthy and follow worthy. So that's pretty much it. And then like a little pro tip is to start by understanding the questions that your ideal audience most needs answered. Okay, so think about what are questions that you're constantly getting and answer them, right? So I'm sure you all talk to parents. What's a question that you're like, oh yeah, everybody asks me that. Okay, create content on that. Boom, right there. Okay, and then you're going to create a story on it, going through it. You're going to create a reel on it, and you're going to create a carousel. Easy peasy. And then guess what? In 6 months, you can post it again. You don't even have to redo it. So
really? So like the exact same thing?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that's true. So as long as I guess you've been posting stuff regularly and it's not
yeah, we don't want to.
You have to scroll far, so you don't need to like delete it or anything. It's just down there.
It's just way down there. So ideally,
way down there.
Yeah, ideally you're posting maybe 3 times a week, right? So if you're posting 3 times a week, think about how much you've posted in 6 months. Also, while it may be your content may be binge worthy, people are gonna forget what you posted. So I actually have a post that talks about not posting square posts to make it more to make it portrait. I post that every quarter. And every quarter people are like, "Oh my god, that's amazing." And I'm like, "Yeah, I've posted this like 4 times already." And so you don't have to, if it's a high performing post, if it was high performing back then, it'll be high performing now and it'll still be valuable. And then this is a whole other masterclass, but content hits people differently at different points in their lives. So something that may not resonate with a parent right now in 4, 5, 6 months will resonate with them differently. So
true.
You don't have to like overthink things. Again, it's not that deep. You can just say the same thing over and over again. And if you don't feel comfortable, like if you want to use kind of like a different hook, you could do that. But you could say the same thing over and over again. Okay, then the last thing is to keep your audience lingering, which we kind of talked about this, right? So we want to get your visitors to linger longer on your posts. Okay, so we're going to think about this, right? And I don't want to say we all know this, but for the most part, Instagram's number 1 goal is to keep people on the app as long as possible, right? That is why we are addicted to it, essentially. Okay, so then your number 1 goal should be to keep people on your page as long as possible, because that's going to be like, hello, algorithm, people like this, so show it, right? Okay, so you have to help Instagram help you help them. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to say. It was like we're gonna go full circle, and everybody is gonna be helping everybody. And so there are 2 proven ways to get your visitors to spend more time consuming your content. Okay, so this is writing captivating captions, and creating savable carousels. Okay, and it could also be reels, but we're going to focus on carousels here because carousels do tend to get more saves. Okay.
Interesting.
So I know neither one of these are really easy to do if you're not a pro copywriter. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give you a little recipe that would be that you can use for both captions and carousels. That's really gonna help you out. And then you can just go ahead and put it into ChatGPT and it'll help you. But we'll talk about that later. So here's the recipe. Okay, for writing captivating captions and carousels. Okay, so your goal here again is to keep people on. All right. So the number one thing is to open with a hook. We want to tell a story, and don't tell me that you don't know how to tell stories. As humans, we all know how to tell a story. And how do you start a story? You start it with a hook, right? And I will also I'm working on a freebie that with AI that'll help with hooks. So I will also send that over to you once I finish, and you can add it to the show notes. But
awesome. That sounds great.
Yeah, for sure. If you are like, I don't know how to do hooks, okay, think about whatever story you're saying and then pretend you're going to call your best friend and tell them about that story. You're not going to start with, well, this morning I woke up and I had a thought. No, that's not a hook. Right? You're going to be like, I have to tell you something right now. You're not going to believe it. Boom, that's a hook. How do you hook people in day-to-day conversation? Okay, you have to, as people that work with kids, you have to hook kids in all the time. How do you hook them in? Right? Think about that. And ultimately, we're all toddlers scrolling on Instagram, so it works. Okay. So that is how we're gonna open up with a hook. Okay. So then, we're gonna keep their interest with a little background story that helps them understand why they should care about the topic that you're talking about. Okay, and why it's the answer to a question that they have. Why should they care about this? So we're gonna try to make this as relatable as possible, and we're gonna use the exact words that your audience or customers or clients or whatever, however they're talking to you. You speak to these people all the time, I am assuming, because if you're working with the kids, you're working with the parents. So what are the words that they use? Keep that in mind and think about it. And you're going to create content using those words, because then they're going to be like, oh my God, it's like she's speaking to me, right? So then step 3 is to feed their desire. So now that you've convinced them why they should care, give them exactly what they came for. And that's the juicy bit. So answer it. This is the tips, the tricks, the strategies, the routines, the recommendations, anything that will actually help them. That's when you give it. Okay. So that's in the step 3. So we're gave them a hook. We're telling them why they should care. And then now we're actually giving them the information. And then step 4 is tell them how you can help, right? Like, okay, so I'm an SLP. This is how I do it, blah, blah, blah. And then the last one is really that call to action. And it's not like, send me a DM. We don't want people to send us DMs. They're not going to do it. Maybe it's comment something. Or if you love this content, check out my other content and give me a follow, right? Or did this help you? Share this with another parent that's going through the same issue. So that is a call to action. So, and you can just like say, was this post helpful? Let me know what part of this was the most helpful. And then you can create more content on that as well. So just, it's nice to also add like a little personal tidbit, like why you came up with this, right? I had a client ask me this, whatever the case is, because again, we want to humanize your brand. And that is how to create brand interest and trust.
Woo, that was awesome. This was a lot of information.
This is
really helpful. This is amazing. I cannot thank you enough for talking to us about all this. This is really, really, really helpful. Okay, we really kind of need to wrap things up kind of soon, but let's see if there's any questions in the chat. And I'm going to think if I have any questions too while I give, some time. Sometimes people can be shy and don't write a question, but I'll think if I have any. Oh, I asked some, I think, during the presentation.
Yeah, you did.
So those might be my questions. Let me pull up my last. Here we go. Okay. I don't see any just yet, but what is your most common question, or what's the most surprising thing? Like whenever you're talking with clients, I don't know, or what's the most common thing that you're like, no, you need to change this? Like
A lot of carb eats mine.
the entire bio.
Yeah, the bio's a big one.
Yeah.
I think probably one of the bigger issues that I see are not using hooks. Because you should use hooks in stories, in reels, in captions, in carousels. Always use a hook, because we have to keep in mind that people are just scrolling mindlessly, right? So what is going to stop the scroll? It's a hook, right? And hooks,
That's so true.
it's great when you call people out. So a lot of my content, it's like, hey, private practice owner. Because then they're like, oh, wait, she's talking to me. So, that's another one. Like, you are not going to believe this, or this is what you need for XYZ. That's a big one. So always use a hook, even when you're talking in stories. When you're going on stories, don't be like, good morning. So I'm just sitting here. I don't care. I'm busy. I have ADHD and I don't have the attention span. And that's all of us. It sounds horrible, but I swipe right through them, and a lot of times it's people that I like, but I'm just like, I can't right now, So
You gotta get to the point.
You gotta get to the
immediately.
point. You gotta get to the point. Again, you're all toddlers
I need to do
scrolling through social media, So you're not gonna talk to a toddler like that, because they'd be like, Fred, I'd rather go lick dirt right now than listen to you.
True.
That's a big one. And then another one that I see a lot is the millennial pause. Do you know what that is? I don't know if we got stuck.
Oh no, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I hear you now.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know where I got
At least
stuck
I
on.
think that's the only time this has happened. Okay.
Oh, no.
You said another one. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. I hear
Okay.
you. Okay.
Okay.
Well, another one is the millennial pause. Do you know what that is?
No, what is that?
That is.
I'm like, oh no, I probably knew it.
Listen, as an elder millennial, okay, the millennial pause is when you hit record, breathe, think about what you're gonna say, and then start talking. So there's that pause at the beginning. You want to cut that out. Okay, so if you
want to just go
want to get into it, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're doing a reel, like you're gonna have to edit, okay? And you can use like a free app which is easy to use. It's great. It's called CapCut. Yeah, everybody should have. And you take out that first little bit, and then any ums and pauses that you have in that reel, cut them out. But especially the beginning is that millennial pause. So if you notice, if you're scrolling through Instagram, or if you're scrolling through TikTok, and you see a Gen Zer, how do they start? They start with some sort of movement, right? They're like, or like they're like setting up their phone.
Oh, yeah.
What does that do? That is actually part of their hook. Because you're like, oh, what's the movement? What's going on? So it catches our attention. And they also know exactly what they're going to say right off the bat. So you have to put a little thought into it.
Yeah.
But
like,
yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, exactly.
I got you. Okay.
You
The
click
millennial
record.
pause.
Yeah. So like as you're clicking record, start breathing in so that you can start immediately. Like sometimes I start talking and it hadn't even recorded yet. So like the first half word is not recorded. But I prefer that than just being like, hi, welcome to my page. Like, whatever the case is, we don't take out the millennial pause.
That's so interesting. Now that you point that out, when I'm scrolling, if there's that pause, I'm like, I've already swiped. Like, I guess we have no attention span.
No, zero.
Tell me right away, or like, it's taking too long. I'll go to the next one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very true. Oh, that is so helpful. Oh my goodness. Okay, I need to completely revamp my entire social media strategy, clearly, but now I have the tools to do so. I'm so excited. All right, well, awesome. Let's see. Okay, I think we'll kind of wrap things up and then kind of close out. One thing, since we have kind of ended the presentation portion, I will just remind everyone about This episode's sponsor, Marsha Church, who has graciously given us 25% off her single stock photos and her private practice starter kit, which is amazing. Use the code Pep Talk 25. This will be in the show notes. It's on the course page. You'll be able to find that easily. Go check that out because it is awesome. And all of her stock photos are really, really good.
Yeah,
you
they
have to check
really
them
are.
out. And you can use them on your website, on your marketing. It's really, really awesome. You need to check it out.
Sure. I call her the queen of branding. She's so good.
Yes, I know. Well, check out all of her things. Those specifically are on sale, but she has other things too. Yes, even make sure you follow her too. She also will talk about branding information and stuff. It's amazing. And I've met her in person and she's the sweetest, amazing. Just follow her. She's very likable. You'll want to follow her. Okay, so the next thing I want to just remind everyone is that you've listened to this. Go get your credit. If you're listening live, you're going to get an email, or I will put it in the show notes, the link to the course page. So all this amazing content, you listen to it. Now let's get credit. It's an $8 processing fee. It's a quiz. It'll take you 2 seconds. It's amazing. And then you get your certificate. How that works is that if you save your certificate, and then if you get audited by ASHA, then you send it in. It's pretty easy. I do not send them to the ASHA registrar, but that's just because only some people pay the $30 for that anyways. So just hold on to your certificate. And then I guess we will just close out. I have my last little spill. Oh, do you have anything else?
If they want to find me, I'm at Socially Easy on Instagram, the letters E and Z. And I love helping. So I have a bunch of services that, if you're ever interested in, we can definitely chat in the DMs, but that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm on Instagram. That's my main focus right now.
Yeah. Yes, that's my, that is in my last spill to make sure that you are following Talisa at socially.ez. So the letters E and Z. And she has a lot of stuff to offer. You definitely need to be checking her out. I know I've learned some stuff. I found you because actually Marsha posted one of your reels and I was like, that's really helpful. I need to follow her. And I followed you and then you messaged me. And so it was fate. But yeah, so make sure you are following her and check her out. So thank you for listening. We hope you learned something today. All of the references and resources throughout the episode are listed in the show notes and also listed on the Pep Talk Podcast for SLP's website. If you want to learn more about Talisa, make sure to check her Instagram out at socially.ez. Talisa, thank you again for joining me here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks.